Hello, hello, hello. First of all, tell me if you can hear me loud and clear in the chat so that I know everything is all right. I hope the audio is, yeah, okay, cool. People are now saying yes, all good. All right, that is all I wanted to know. Welcome everyone to our live stream. This month I have got an amazing insurance dashboard that I made with Power BI, and I really want to share this with you, explain the process of how I constructed it, share some valuable advanced professional tricks that you can use when you are working with Power BI and analyzing the data. All right, before we get in there, feel free to say hello, tell me where you are watching this from, and what you're drinking. I just had my lunch. It's about 2 o'clock here in New Zealand on the Saturday afternoon. So I had my lunch and I'm just having some water with me to keep me hydrated. All right. BZ Flower Bee says hello from California. And someone else is also saying, yeah, loud and clear. That is awesome. And ooh, we got someone from Argentina. Wow. That is awesome. And of course, there's someone from Manchester, Osama Omagbai. And we got someone from Malaysia as well. Hello from Malaysia. Hey, so good to have you all. And of course, there's more people saying Deeptarko Das Sharma from Bangalore, and Rajesh from New Delhi, and Sohail from Pakistan, and Harish from Hyderabad, and wow, someone from Saudi, someone from Nigeria, someone from Algeria. Chris says North Carolina, howdy, and Pratik says hello, watching from Odisha, India, having lukewarm autumn with apple cider vinegar. Awesome. All right, so good to have you all. I know there's more of you watching and joining the stream, so welcome to the live stream. I've got a quick presentation that kind of sets the tone of what to expect and what's going to happen for the next about a couple of hours, and then from there we'll jump into Power BI. I'll explain how you can get the data. I've made a sample file for you that you can kind of grab it and follow along. Alternatively, you can take some notes while you're watching and then go and implement them with your own data sets. Okay, so let's just get into the slides, and I'm gonna set up my thing there, and then okay, so that's the one. So this is the dashboard, the one that you're seeing on the screen. This is exactly what we are going to build. It took me all in all, it took me a couple of days to get there because I had like a couple of false starts trying to figure out how best to present this information, what stories to tell, and how to kind of put together something that is both interesting, curious, as well as explainable in a live medium like this. So this is what it is. It is for a insurance company. Looks like they kind of went into losses. So this is actual data, or maybe close to actual data, because I couldn't really find any explanation of how this data is obtained. But I'll talk about that in a minute. So we are going to explore the insurance company's financial performance, understand what they have been doing, what kind of went wrong or what went right with them, and then go from there. So this is the report that we are going to build, and I call this as a professional Power BI report. That's really what we are going to do. So what is it that we are going to do? We are going to build the report that you see, the whole thing from scratch. Well, not technically scratch, because I've got like a blank file that has the data and the connections already set up, so we can kind of skip through some of the basics that you may already know. So we'll build the report. We'll create all the DAX measures. That part we are going to do, so you understand how to build that logic. We will also learn how to build some custom bar charts. The bar chart that you see here, it's not the default bar chart. So how to build this? I'll tell you how I learned this, and then I'll show you how to build this. We are also going to see how to add a tooltip page and link that to our narrative so we can tell better stories with our data, how to customize the interactions and filters, and finally we are going to explore the reason for the losses of this insurance company. What really went wrong. And a little bit about myself. I know many of you have been watching my channel or familiar with my story, but if this is your first time here, or if this is your first time getting on one of my streams, a big hello to you all. And of course, if you're repeat, a hello to you as well. I'm Chandu. I have been a Microsoft Excel MVP for more than 16 years. Even though I primarily focus on Excel, for the last few years, I've been kind of focusing both on Excel and Power BI equally. And I have I make a lot of content on YouTube. I've got 740,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're not one of those, feel free to subscribe if you like this kind of content. I have authored more than 1,000 articles and written a few books on various things related to data analysis, Excel, Power BI, SQL, Python, etc. And I have trained more than 20,000 students around the world on various things like Microsoft Excel, Power BI, SQL, other things. My mission in life is really simple. I want you to become awesome. This is why I make all of these things, the content that you see as well as everything else. So welcome to the journey, and I hope you become awesome with me today. The resources for you, obviously you're following along. So I've got a sample resource. I've set up a GitHub page where all the resources are mentioned in a clear way. The data sets, the images, the sample data file, everything is there. The link for this is in the video description. So go there, get the files, right? I'll explain how to use this GitHub page in a minute, but it's all there. Because this file actually requires multiple different files to be all brought together. So I've set up the GitHub profile for that. So please go to the GitHub. The link for that is in the video description. How you can support, obviously people ask me when they watch live streams or YouTube, or even email me and then say, hey, you're doing amazing work, how can we kind of help you out? So this is what you can do. Please like this video, lots of likes, share it with some of your friends and colleagues and others, because that will really help me directly by expanding my mission and helping more people become awesome. Obviously, say lots of comments, questions, doubts, love, whatever you have. Say that out. If you're watching live, then do it live. Otherwise, when you're watching it in replay, leave a comment to tell me what you're liking, what you're not liking, everything. And of course, if you're watching live, then do some live reactions. This also helps me know that, oh, this is a point that people are enjoying. And if you want, you can also do a super chat or a super emoji kind of a thing to support by giving some money or something. A few more housekeeping stuff. How much time I think this is going to take? I'm thinking it might take 90 minutes for the main show and then another 20 minutes for the Q&A, but it could be longer. This is because it actually took me close to 2 days for making the whole thing. So this is because I was kind of going, exploring, making something, going back and then saying, oh, this doesn't look all right, or trying it out at different things. So if you have something to do, then maybe at the end of the 90th minute you can go leave, but I will be here until we finish this report. That's my plan for the day. I don't have anything else planned later in the afternoon, so I'll try to be here as long as the report is still not done. We will do a Q&A at the end, so any specific questions you have, feel free to leave them on so we can address that. But don't wait until the end. If you have a question, leave it live right now in the live chat so someone else can actually help you out. But if no one helps, I will come back and help. But no matter what, don't spam and say the same question again and again. Just do it once, so that'll be fine. And of course, there's download files. So grab them. There is a link in the video description. Feel free to get these files using the GitHub page. I'll show you what this GitHub page looks like so that you can see that. Prashant says super chat as well. Thank you, Prashant. And so let's go ahead and build this. I'm excited. I hope you're excited as well. Let's go. So this is the report. This actually report has 3 pages, a welcome page that kind of sets the tone. I call this a sad tale of EIC. EIC is the name of the company. I think it's called Ethiopian Insurance Corporation or something, but I'm not really sure because I was kind of not really sure how this data is coming. So first up, let's kind of take a look at the GitHub where all the files are. So this is the project page for this thing. The main things that you want to download are this zip file. This has the raw data, the one that we are using, and a supporting calendar file that I made. So the raw data actually came from a publicly available data source, whereas the calendar file I made to support our analysis in Power BI. This PNG is nothing but what you're seeing here. And then this PBIX file is the template file. So it has everything, the raw data and a few other things already baked in, but I'm not really sure you can refresh it, but it's something that you can use if you want to start from there. Alternatively, you can download these two and make it yourself. But today we are going to start with this PBIX file. This is basically the file that already has the data loaded in. And there are some images that I'm using to kind of enhance the report. All the images I have put here. You don't really need these images. You can kind of use some placeholder for them and then later replace them with these images or any other images, but feel free to use that. There is one image that is definitely required, which is the background for the canvas. So background 1 wide is what we are using for that. I'll explain again what this is in a minute, but that's required. All right. I will talk more about how I made these images and other things much later. But for now, let's go ahead and take a closer look at what is it that we are going to build and then go ahead and build it. So this is what I call as a sad tale of EIC. It's an insurance corporation, and looks like they were operating between 2014 and 2018. At least that's the window for which the data is available. Here I'm making lots of assumptions because I don't really know more about the data. The data source is publicly available, but they didn't really include a lot of information. There was just 500,000 rows of insurance data. So I downloaded it and we analyzed this. I'll show this data in a second, but it looks like they were doing very badly with respect to premium to claims ratio. This is a ratio where in insurance you make some premium payments and then you claim that amount. So let's say I'm paying the insurance company $100, but I'm claiming $300 in that year. The premium to claims ratio is less than 100%, which means the company is kind of technically making losses. So they were making losses all this while. Only in 2018 Q2 they kind of made a little bit of profit. Until then they were making losses, and you can see the cumulative losses. Actually, if you see here, total premium they collected in those 4 years is about 4 billion. I'm saying dollars, but again, this could be any currency. It doesn't really matter. But they paid $9.2 billion of claims. And average $8,000 of premium, but average claim is $18,000 for across all the people. So this is a kind of like a business that didn't work out, or we didn't have the full picture. We only have like a window of data. So we are making assumption here, but that's what it is. So I can explore this story. The story is where this is. So today we will make this page, this entire page, and the tooltip associated with it. The welcome page is kind of like a fluff page that you can make it yourself once you understand the concept. So we're going to do this from scratch. So I'll minimize this and I'm going to show the data to you. So this is the data that I have downloaded. This data came from, it's mentioned in the GitHub as well, where the data is. So the data set is from this website, data.mendeley.com. Vehicle insurance data is saying in Ethiopian Insurance Corporation, this is the data. It's 11 megabytes of data. I think this is used for some machine learning algorithms as well, but I'm using it for Power BI. So this data has these columns, sex of the policyholder. It doesn't really tell us what each of these sex codes are. 0 means what, 1 means what, 2 means what. We don't really know. But again, I'm making an assumption that we don't really know that. We are just going to visualize them by the codes. The date on which the policy began, the date on which the policy ended, some instrument types, how much is the value of the insured, what is the policy value, how much is the premium, some sort of a unique identifier for the policy, and carrying capacity, etc. Type of the vehicle, what kind of vehicle. This is all for motor insurance, by the way. And what is the make of the car? Is it Nissan, Toyota, Mercedes, etc.? What kind of usage is it? Is it for a passenger car? Is it like bus or something like that? And how much is the claim paid? You can see that not all policies have a claim, but some policies do. Wherever the claim is, that is what really is kind of making this company bleed. And this data goes on for 500,000 rows. So quite a lot of data here. And that's really what I have. All right. So this is the data. You can see that this is fairly straightforward data, but quite a bit of variation, lot of volume of data. So it provides us for some very interesting, fun analysis, and obviously helps us learn or understand Power BI better. I want to save this. The actual file is a CSV file. I have just converted that into Excel spreadsheet, but that's that. Now let's go here and let's open the template. All right, so this is the blank file that I have provided. This is one that you have in the GitHub as well. You can download this. It will come up with this kind of a skeleton, and it will have the two tables as well. Your calendar table and policies table is also already there. I'm going to show you the data model. Calendar is just so we could do some reporting or analysis through calendar basis, like what is year, quarter, month kind of thing. But if you notice, there are two date values. So we have got insurance end and insurance beginning dates. Both of these are dates. So I've joined the date here to both of these columns. But obviously when you have a table, two tables, and they have multiple relationships between them, only one can be active. So the active relationship right now is date and insurance beginning date. But I might want to answer questions like how many policies got closed in a specific quarter. In order to answer that, we need to flip the relationship to the inactive one and then look at insurance end date to do the analysis. So that's why the relationship is there. We're going to activate that through the DAX later on. So this is the basic data model. And on the page here, what I have done is I've used the background. I think this background needs to be edited. So I'm going to go here, take out the background, and I'll also show you what canvas we are using. We are using a 1080 by 1920 canvas, so a really big screen kind of a thing. By default, Power BI uses 720 by 1280. So changed the resolution there as well. And I'm going to browse and use the background one wide and then fit this. So that's the background for our page. It looks nice and crisp. And now let's go ahead and kind of start building some of the DAX that helps us understand and analyze this data. So to begin with, what we want is we want to first create some measures that kind of then we can use that to explore this data. So the table doesn't have really anything, it's just raw data, but let's start by counting how many policies are there. So we can add a new measure, and this measure is policy count, and this is nothing but count rows because each row is one policy in my policies table, right? So we'll add that. and that will come up there. And we'll make two more measures. One is called policies opened. This is how many policies have been opened, and this is nothing but policy count. This looks a bit confusing because we are making another measure, but it's just duplicate of the policy count. This is because we also have a policy close date with an inactive relationship, and we may want to trigger that. So I thought we'll use this kind of a notation, so we have both measures there. And one more measure, this is called policies closed, and this is nothing but we want to calculate the policy count by activating the second relationship. The current one is pointing to the insurance beginning date. We want to activate the second relationship. So this is where we can use the use relationship function. Use the relationship on calendar date with my policy end date. So close bracket, and that's the use relationship function that can be used to kind of trigger the inactive relationship in the model and calculate this. So for example, given this three values, I can take a look at them. For example, I can say make a table, and in this table I can see for each year. Right now when I put year, I'm going to get sum of year or something ridiculous like that. I'm gonna first up I'm gonna just make the text nice and big so you can see this. So right click and then don't summarize this, so we can get every year as one label, and then I can see how many policies have opened and how many have closed. So you can kind of see that. Now as I'm looking at this, I can see that there is some data quality issues. Why is there a blank year there? And it has one policy open, one policy closed, and we have got all of these policies in 2019. We are just closing, we're not opening anything. This is because if you look at the data itself, insurance end and insurance beginning, the insurance beginning data starts from roughly 1 July 2014 all the way up to kind of like March of 2017. Whereas insurance ending data starts around the same time, July of 2014, but it goes up to, I think this is not showing full picture, but it goes up to 2019. So you issue a policy, then 1 year later, because it's usually the case for motor policies, they expire after 1 year. So that's why the insurance end date is longer than the insurance beginning date. So that means they don't fully overlap, which is natural anyway. And this is also the reason why the opening is much higher here than the close. It's 351 versus 65,000. Whereas here we don't have any opens, but we do have a lot of closures. So this part is fine, but why is there a 1? So you can go ahead and see that. In fact, there's some data quality issues, not a big issue, but slight quality issues. I'm going to go into Power Query quickly, transform data. And in Power Query, we're going to expand the sex column and load everything. So when you see this, you can see that in the sex column, we have got a own goods appearing randomly. So it should be 0, 1, 2, but an extra value is coming in here because it's a CSV file. I'm assuming there is a line there in the CSV somehow that is not adhering to the format and it's not being treated correctly. We could kind of think of this like an error. So what I'll do is I will exclude that and click OK. This way, that particular row is not part of our analysis because it's just one row. It doesn't really impact the analysis that much. But if we have got lots of rows like that, you may have to go back and adjust some of the transformations that are happening here so that you could do that. For now, I'm not really bothering with that. You can also see once you're in Power Query what else I have done. I have not really done much other than load the data and do some minimal cleanups and data type changes, but I've added a duration of the policy. So this is end minus beginning as a duration. You can see that it's somewhere in here, policy duration, how many days it is. We are not really using that in this particular example, but that can also be used if you want to do some additional analysis in Power BI. Okay, so close and load. and let this thing complete its process. And now that blank row is gone. So we are only looking from 2014 to 2019. And this is how the picture is. So this looks perfectly fine for me. I think we can kind of understand what is happening in this business with these two. And if I want, I can also calculate another measure that tells me what is the net policy gain, like how many policies we have added that year compared to how many we got closed by this minus that kind of a thing. But that is a different analysis. So if you want, you can do that. Right now, our focus is really to understand what went wrong with this company. Why did they kind of make so much losses? Were there some decisions or choices that they kept making that didn't align well with their profit or whatever? And obviously more of exploration than really go dig deep into the analysis and everything, because this is like very historical data. But it's a good data set. I think there's more scope for this. For us today, we will try to kind of go in one direction. So policies open, policies closed. This is fine. Let's go ahead and add a few more measures. Let's calculate total premium. This is nothing but sum of the premium column in our policies table. So that comes up there. And then total claim says sum of the policies claim paid column. And while you're making them, you can use this table to kind of see that. You'll see that where the problem is. You can see here 4 billion of premium collected, 9.18 billion of claims paid. So naturally, this is not a very good thing to have in a business. And only in somewhere here, like $383 million of premium collected, 337 million premium claims paid in 2018. Up until then, every year, the claims were like way more than how much is the policy base itself, like how much premium that we collected. And as you can see here, 2019 doesn't have any other values other than closed values. So we can kind of ignore this particular row altogether for financial analysis, because there's no other financial things except policies getting closed in that year. And there might be some policies getting opened in that year as well. It's just that this is probably snapshot data, which means there is only data from 2014 to 2018 given to us. There's maybe more data there in the data set. We just don't know that, as this is publicly available data sets. So for the sake of analysis, we can safely ignore this row. That's really the bottom line there. Claims and premium. And what we can also do is we could also do some averages. This kind of helps us understand at an average level what's happening. So we can say average premium. This is nothing but average of premium column. And we will use this kind of table to just understand our measures and whether things are looking all right. But later we may actually delete this and build the report that we want to build. While you're creating, you can also select the measure and use the measure tools ribbon and set the formatting. So for example, it already set it to currency. I'm going to set this to 0 decimals. We don't need the decimal points on all of these things. But that's just for this table visual. Later when we use, we may have to format them in a different way for those visuals. So average premium is that. How do we calculate the average claim? So there's two ways of doing this. I'll show you both. Average claim. We can simply say average of the claim paid column. And then let's add that. So 0. So here you can see average premium is 7.8 thousand, 7,800, but average claim is 242,000. So in case of an accident, the claim is like really big. Obviously it makes sense. Your claim is going to be much more than how much is your premium. But if you look at the data, a lot of policies don't have any claim. They just make a payment, but they don't claim. This is the case for a majority of the insurance situations anyway. You pay the premium with the hope that you don't have to claim, especially things like life insurance or health insurance or even motor insurance for that matter. The whole intention is so that you can avoid that financial discomfort when you go, or any other discomfort that you will face when you have that accident. But when you do have the claim amounts will be significantly higher. Now, because these are blank, these are technically null values or blanks, I think average is ignoring them and it's just averaging the number values. So that's what that 242 is saying. It means for those cells that have the value, the average of that is those rows is 242. Like I said, there is also another way of doing this, which would be we can say divide total premium with policies open. What this does is, irrespective of whether you made a claim or not, you're going to be divided against the total claims. What this does is it takes the total claim amount and then it divides that with the total number of policies. How many are policies? Even you don't make a claim, it doesn't matter. We are going to still count you for doing this average. So this might actually be slightly lesser, actually much lesser. You can see this here, 22,000. So 7,800 average premium, 22,000 average claim. So this is another way of looking at it. I'm not an insurance expert. I happened to work in the insurance space for a few years at the start of my career and learned quite a bit of concepts in that space and time. So I don't really know which one would be more preferred, especially in a financial analysis of an insurance company. But from a data analysis perspective, 7,000 premium and 242,000, they seem like wildly off. So I thought dividing that overall claims with the number of policies that you hold might give us a better indication of what is our average load. Like an average customer is paying 7,800 to us, whereas they're taking 22,000 from us. So this is a bad situation for us, really. This only improved all the way in 2018 when we went from 6,700 premium and then 5,800 in claims. So we were only able to control this after 5 years. Until then, we were kind of incurring heavy losses. So that's average claim. While we are here, you can also add some more ratios. So for example, you can kind of do a premium to claims ratio. And this is nothing but divide total premium with total claim. This is kind of like a one-step indicator that tells us, are you making profit or not? Like profit in the technical sense. There might be other expenses other than claims, like your administration expenses, salaries, in advertising and the other things. But purely from a premium to claim point, are you turning green or not? And we can make this as a decimal and then add that. So we can see that we are not doing so well until first 4 or 5 years. Then we made 114%, which means our premiums are greater than our claims. You may probably want to be here. Good insurance companies, the ones that are profitable anyway, they'll be here, except for bad years. That's usually the nature of insurance anyway. So we have some of these numbers. You can calculate more numbers. Let me just quickly see what else we have here. We have got a claim count. I think that's a good one to have. A claim count is where we just want to count how many claims are there. So if the row is blank, we don't want to count anything that has a value. We want to count. So we can add another measure. Claim count is calculate policy count where claim paid is greater than 0. So this is a policy count with the filter on claim paid amount being positive, and we can also add that to our giant table. So you can see not that many claims, like 6,000 claims compared to 65,000 policies that we issued. So our claimant thing is roughly 10%. Like out of all the policies that we have, only 10% make the claim, but whoever is making the claim, they're really bleeding us and ended up making us lose a lot of money. And we were only able to get this under control. Again, here you can see that only 2,000 claims, despite having like 130,000 plus policies that year. So this is telling us like, what happened with this company. And hopefully through this process, you also understood a little bit more about this data. So now that we have the measures in place, let's go ahead and start designing our report. So I'm going to cut this and paste it here in this page so we can use it to kind of refer later in case we need that. This is our report. Let me just show you how I went designing with this. So I went with this kind of like a layout where you have got an area on the left hand side for usual stuff like some menus and slicers and whatnot, and maybe set the heading. And on the top is a card visual, new card visual, and some more explanation like who is buying the policies from us, what kind of vehicles they are, and what are the top 10 makes. Toyota is the biggest make, and then who is claiming, what kind of vehicle types are claiming and getting more payout. So you can see this yellow one was getting a huge chunk, almost $1 billion every year in claim money, only until 2018. In 2018, we were able to rein it in and then maybe figure out, oh, let's not insure those guys anymore or whatever. This was under control. So that's that. And I wanted to understand by sex if there is any difference between the number of claims versus number of policies they buy. And that's this visual there. And then this is another visual that kind of explores what is the average claim to average premium. So anything in this kind of like violet color zone here, this little triangle, very little triangle, is profit for us. All of these vehicles are loss making. You can see a majority of our policies are in this red zone here. But if you see, if I select 2018, it changes. You can now see that there's more of this here. And if I go into something like motorcycle, all of them are profitable. Whereas some other types like buses, but many of them are profitable. There's only one bus here. So that's what that visual does. It kind of lets you explore and see where the profit segments are. You can also see that when I change this year, these cards update, and this one, policies to claims ratio, turns green, indicating that that's when you're making profit. So that's a little bit, we'll kind of go into all of these. I'll explain how everything is put together. And further down here, I have explored the profitability by segment. So what kind of usage the vehicle is getting, and for each year, what is the claims to profit, premium to claims ratio. So anything green is kind of like good for us. A lot of red here, but eventually everything became green in 2018. So that's the report. As you can see, we have all of these measures built, like policies open, premium, claims ratio, average of these, and claim count. So let's go ahead and build that card. This is where you need the new card. If you don't see this, this is a new visual in Power BI. So it's an experimental visual. They don't enable this until you actually go ahead and enable it. So if you don't see that there, you can go into File, Options and Settings, Options, and click on Preview Feature. And somewhere here, there'll be new card visual. So you'll need to enable that. You may have to restart. You will need to restart Power BI after you enable this. Otherwise, it will not trigger. So enable this, save your file and restart. And then you'll see that there. So let's add this guy here. I'm going to move it here. place it like that. So we're going to start with policy opened, and total premium, total claim, premium to claim ratio. Where is that? It's here. Premium to claim ratio, average premium, average claim, and claim count. So I added all of these. You can see that it only shows 3 at a time, and then you can scroll, kind of, it shows everything. So once this is there, we can select this. We can go to format and select layout, and then say that I want to see 7 values. So all the 7 will come up here nicely. All right, that looks good. And then you can start tweaking this, like, adjust the formatting, colors and fonts and everything. That's really what I have done here. I have tweaked it to a great extent. I'll show you how to add the icons first. So we select this guy, go into images, and I may have to turn myself off for this bit. So go to the images, and images in the card, and then select each series. So policies opened, let's have an image for that, and browse and select the image that corresponds to policies. So I think policy holders is this one. I select this. All these images are in the GitHub folder anyway, so you can download them. For now, you can use placeholder, or you don't have to do this step. This is more of a cosmetic thing. So the image will come up. What I'll do is I'll make the image like 32 pixels. I don't want that image to be too big, and we'll align it top. And yeah, I think that's what I wanted. That looks all right. And let's do this for total premium. Again, image, browse, and coin image for premium, 32 pixels, top align, and we continue this. Okay, so this is how I have done that. I've got icons for everything, and I'll show you in my computer folder. Basically, everything has an icon. So claim is this cash, average, and premium to claims ratio is that. Let's add one for premium to claims ratio as well. On browse, this 32 pixels, top align that. The next one is, if the premium to claims ratio is under 100%, I want it to be in red color, else I want it to be in green color. So now, right now, this is across the board for all the years, but once you have a slicer for a specific year, then it's going to be kind of conditionally formatted. So to do that, I will select this card again, go to the cards option, expand this, go all the way, go to background, and you'll see that many places in Power BI, wherever these things are, you'll have these kind of like an FX button indicating this can have some sort of a rule applied for the color. So I'm going to click on this FX, and I'll make a rule on premiums to claims ratio. If the value is greater than 0, less than 1, which means premium is less than claim, we are losing money. So in this case, I want the color to be kind of like, let's go with this red color. And if it is greater than or equal to 1, less than, and less than any value really, so we can just delete this. That will make it max. So anything more than 1, but up to the maximum. This is a green zone for us. We'll select this green color. So we'll select these two colors, click OK. And I thought this is going to do it for just that. But it actually colored everything. This is because when we are doing the color conditional formatting, I'm going to clear the rule here. We have set the series all. That means just apply this rule for all the cards. We don't want that for all. So I'm going to select premium to claims ratio and then again repeat the steps. So conditional formatting rules, greater than 0, less than 1, red color, greater than 1, less than max, green color. So only that guy takes the red color. The Fun thing with red color is it immediately tells us that, hey, we are making losses here. That's all good. But it is also takes out the contrast. So we can't really read that word anymore. It kind of is very unclear to me. So we'll need to change the text color as well, again through conditional formatting, because it can be red or green. So we will go into, now cards is done, we will go into call out values, select the premiums to claims ratio, and for the text color it will always be black. Again do FX, rule 0 to 1. If you're making losses, then we want that color. Actually, we are gonna reduce the contrast and see what happens. 1 and max green color. So that's how that looks like. And you would have to do the same for label as well. For the label, or you can pick a color that is kind of balances out red and green and still has the perfect contrast. But I thought, just learning this would alone help you later when you're trying to do something else. So I think I'll go with that. All right, I'm gonna change the top color also to cancel. This color also to the darker versions because they offer much better contrast. Yeah. All right. So here we have got that. And now if I add a slicer, you can select a regular slicer. But I think in this case, I'm using the button slicer option, but either one is fine. I think the button slicer has a few more formatting choices for us. So we can select the slicer, add year there, and go to slicer settings and use the vertical list option, and then make it a single select so that you can select one year at a time. So now if I select a different year, you can see the values change, and the moment we hit profit 114%, it will come up. Obviously, it also gives me a choice to select 2019 because in our calendar table that year is there, but none of the values can come up because we don't have any policies issued in that year. All the values we have are for the policies closing. So on this page, let's limit our analysis just to the years 14 through 18. We don't want 2019 to be considered. So what I'll do is I'll select anywhere in the page, go to the filters, and add filter on this page. I'm going to add year and set the basic filtering, select all, but unselect 2019, so that that's no longer there for any of the visuals. Right, so this is done. We'll take out the slicer header and place that there. That's where our slicer will be, and I can select anything, and that will basically let me see that. Okay, so now for a given year, we are able to understand what happened, like what is the overall big picture. For example, 2014, 66K policies issued, 518 million revenue, 2 billion losses, 34%, 2 billion claims, 34% policy to claim, 8,000 average, 23,000 claim, 6,000 claims altogether. You can also tweak these headings, by the way. You don't have to really live with the name that you give them to adjust the name. So you can select the card, go to the data bucket here where the name is showing up. You can double click and you can type whatever you want. I'm going to just rename that as average claim because claim 2 is what we named the measure, but we don't want to use that for the display. And you can add rest of the icons as well. They're all there in the GitHub. Feel free to grab them and set them up there. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to kind of explore who is buying our policy. So this visual is what we want to build. So to do that, let's go ahead and add a clustered bar chart. So let's make it nice and big like that. And in this, I want to see what is the type of vehicle that is purchasing. So we've got different columns here. If you see, You got type of vehicle, motorcycle, etc., usage of vehicle, and then make of the vehicle. This is where I think we kind of segment the customer. Really, we can understand what groups are buying our policies, as well as how much is the policies versus claims kind of thing going on for them. So let's go ahead and take the first column, type vehicle, and add that into the y-axis. And on the x-axis, we are just going to see how many policies they have opened. So this is basically telling us who is buying our policies. So for example, pickup trucks, they're buying 12,000 policies in the given year. Trucks, 11,000. Automobile, motorcycles, buses, and tractors, tankers. Wonder why, and some trade plates as well. So trade plates seems like an outlier. We don't really have that many, but they are there. So I would like to exclude that. So I'm going to first select this, go to visual filter, and policies opened. I'm going to say this should be greater than at least 10 policies, and apply this. So if we have not sold at least 10 policies in a specific class of vehicle, we don't really need to look at that and analyze, because that's not a significant decision to understand or explore. So this basically takes out that little thing, and maybe if there is anything else that comes up later for a different year, that will also get out. So while I'm looking at this, I may want to also see that number printed on the screen. And this is where I was kind of getting curious to know how to better design this. So I'm going to copy this, add a new page, and then show this to you, this particular one. Like, what are various options for us to do with this? So one option is we can fine tune this. So for example, we can take out some of the garbage here, this one, these titles, even that axis, the grid lines, everything we can take out, and instead we can just add labels. So for that, we can just go to y-axis, take out the title, x-axis, completely turn that off, and add data label, and add a nice little title there like that. This is one way of doing. But I was curious to know if there's any other ways of doing this. And I saw some very interesting implementations online, because I like to learn Power BI, right? So so what I did is I went online and I was kind of looking for some inspiration and ideas on how to kind of spice up this little column chart. One thing that I liked is there's many sources, but I just want to bring up the GitHub page. So there's one idea that I saw from How to Power BI Bas Domain. I really like his work. So he has got this thing. I don't want to play this video right now, but this is the thing. So I thought, oh, this looks cool. Let me just implement it and kind of see how that's going to look. So we're going to take a look at this technique. If you've seen this video, then probably you already know how this is done. But if not, this is also a good chance for you to see this in a different context, as well as see how I approach this. So I'll go here. For this, what we'll do is we'll need to add a new measure. This is basically a dummy measure. I'm going to call this as dummy series. This is equal to 0. And this is a clustered one. So if I add dummy series to this, okay, sorry, should be added here. It will add another bar of 0 length. So there's a bar there, it's 0, so it's not showing up, but it is added, and it is added at the bottom. So now we select that and move the dummy series above. So the thing is up top and the values are at the bottom. And then what we will do is we basically take out this axis altogether, take out these labels, and use this dummy series to generate the labels. So that's really the technique. So we start off by saying y-axis, I don't want you. And legend, we don't need legend either. Data labels, we don't want data labels for policy opened, so take that out. And for for this dummy series, we want to show a label, but the label has to be whatever the text is that we want to say there. So the text that I want to say is automobile 72,971 policies. So that's really what I want to say. Whenever you add another series, it also mucks up your sort order. So you'll need to sort this again on policies opened in the descending order. Otherwise, it will just show this in some other whacked up order. Okay, so we'll need to now generate a measure. We'll write titles for these things. So this is going to be my bar chart labels. And let's declare some variables where v type is selected value of vehicle type. So whatever is the value, right now it is automobile, this is bus, that is truck, pickup, etc. Whatever it is, that will come up here into that variable. Where policies is equal to policies open. One more variable we'll declare. Policies to claim is premium to claim ratio is that. Okay, so we got all of these things now into variables, and now let's construct the return. The label that we want to return is v type ampersand policies ampersand p2c. Okay, initially we'll just make this, and then we're gonna see how that looks, and then we'll prettify it. So now we come back here, we can see that this is saying 0k. So we go to data labels, where it is saying value, right? That's the value that it is showing. We will replace that with bar chart labels. Doesn't really work. This is probably because, oh sorry, I think we have dummy series to select first and then bar chart labels. So now you can see the label does come up. It looks really garbagey because I'll zoom this and Control 2. You can see what's happening. It does say motorcycle. That part is working fine. And 105977 is probably the number of policies that it has, and then 2.8 is the policy to claim ratio. So all of these are like mushed together into one big giant blob of text. So we don't want that, so we need to prettify this little thing. So policies, instead of policies open, we can just say format this in this format code. So what that would do is take the number and round it to thousands and add a decimal point and then print that. And premium to claim ratio, rather than just showing the ratio itself, I thought we could kind of show it in a graphical way. Are we making profit or loss? So we'll use a if condition here. If premium to claims ratio is less than 1, that means your losses, then symbol X, else symbol Y. Okay, and we are gonna just add some spaces here. Like that. And let's test this out. Okay, so now we are starting to see a little bit of better labels. Again, I'll show you how this looks. Motorcycle 106.0k Y, because it's making losses. Truck 94.1k X. Like that. So motorcycle is profit, everything else is loss, really. So that's working. Now Y and X is cryptic. So let's change this to something more visual. For this, you can go back here where it says X and Y, take that out and hold the Windows and dot keys together to bring up emoji keypad. From there you can select emojis, so you can search in the smiley face there. If you go all the way to heart, you'll find some nice little symbols that will kind of signify what you want to say. So premium to claim ratio less than 1 is loss. So in that case, we could kind of say, I'm gonna select that red bubble, else green check mark. I've already used them, so I'm gonna just straight away use that. So now the labels are coming up nicely. Motorcycle 1016K, check mark 94. So the emoji indicates whether we are good or not purely from an insurance perspective for that product category. As you can see, motorcycles and tractors are the only ones that have anything good going on in this specific context. Let's go back to the report, and that's how that looks. This is across all the years. So now I'm going to Control-C this chart, go back to our main page and paste it there. So that's how that looks. And so you can see that, oh, this looks better or that looks better. It all depends on what you really like and how you like to present this visuals. I thought this is a fun little way to spice up some of these charts and add a little bit more variation, as well as hopefully learn something interesting like that. The only problem that I find with this is, well, other than writing all the extra DAX and everything, it doesn't get perfect alignment. You can see that. I'm gonna show. So that's where the bar is aligned, whereas the label doesn't quite begin there. It kind of starts there. There's no way you can properly left align this. So there's a little bit of space. And if you have got some OCDs or you're very particular about these things, you may not really like it. Like, oh, this doesn't quite feel at home there. So that was one problem that I found with it, other than some of the other things that it has in a few other weirdnesses and all of that. Yeah, but let's go ahead with that. I'm gonna take this out and put that there. So who's buying our vehicles, policies? This is telling. You can add more things here. You can add other symbols and concatenate and kind of come up with better stories and whatnot, depending on what is going on. Everything is dynamic. So if I select a different year, I can see what has happened. Like for example, 2018, we were finally able to make green on most of them, other than trailers and trucks, where we had significant losses. Okay, so that's the who is buying stuff, and you don't have to stop here. You can actually tell better stories. So for example, rather than just saying policies opened 16,000, you can select the bar chart and use this tooltips area here to add more tooltips. Sorry, for a second there I thought, why is it not showing? It's because my face was there. So you can use this tooltips to add more information. So I'm going to add, rather than just the number of policies, we can say what is the average premium, average claim, and where is the claim count? Claim count as well. So we can see motorcycles, 16,000 policies, $421 average premium, 15,000 average claim, but only 32 claims. So whereas trucks, on the other hand, 10,000 policies, 15,000 average premium, average claim is 306,000 and 584 claims. So you can enhance the storytelling by adding these additional things so that you can really understand what went with each of these segments and, you know, explore that much more deeply. So that's that one. Let me go ahead and see this. Then the next one that I wanted to see is who is getting most of the money. So again, for this, you can use a bar or a ribbon chart. I've used a ribbon chart for this. One of the first times I've used actually a ribbon chart in some of my reports. I don't really like them because they feel too fancy and too flashy. But in this case, I wanted to really see the progression of where the money is going and how it has changed over a period of time. So for this, we want to see each year as one column, and on the top are like the vehicle types. I think these are vehicle usages, I think. Yeah. So for this, on the x-axis, I'm going to add year, and on the y-axis, I want to add total climb, and as a legend, which is basically splitting this, is my vehicle usage. Now when I do that, I'm only getting one column. You can see here this is only 2015. This is because this slicer is setting to 2015. So this slicer is also filtering that little thing there. We don't want that. The slicer should only control these things, but not this. So to do that, while keeping the slicer selected, we can go to Format, Edit Interactions, and you can turn off the interaction. So you can say this slicer should not interact with this. So while keeping the slicer selected, Edit Interaction, disable the interactions here, and now you can see the ribbons kind of flowing each year like that. Once you've done, you can disable the Edit Interactions button. So that setup is done. And this comes up here nicely. I'm gonna tweak this a little bit. Title would be Who Climbs Most. Technically, it's not who because there's like the total money is what we are visualizing, not the individuals or number of climbs, but that's fine for now. And then the legend is up top. I want to show this legend on the top right. Sorry, I think top right stacked like that. So we can see this, and we don't need the title there. And y-axis also no title, and x-axis no title. So that's how that looks. Again, you can tweak these colors. You can see that here they're looking blue and like that, whereas in my report here they're looking greenish. So depends. By default, I think that's the color Power BI gives, but you can adjust these colors anyway. And also you can add extra rules at a visual filter level to take out some of the noisy elements. Like some of them only have 5 climbs or four policies like that. We may not really want to see that. In that case, you can take them out. But that's who climbs the most. Same visual, but this time what I wanted to do is I want to also see for each sex code that we have got 3 codes, 0, 1, and 2. We don't really know what these 3 are, whether they're men, women, and companies, or something else. No idea really, because there's no explanation. There's no data dictionary in the sample data website. So I don't want to make assumptions, but even just at the code level, I wanted to know, are the number of policies each sex is purchasing same as the number of claims they're making, or someone is disproportionately more or less. This can also tell us what is happening with the business really. And there's a couple of ways of visualizing this. I'll show you what options I went with, and I tried different things, and I made one that I thought is fun enough. So the first one is, of course, you can make 2 pie charts. So here's one pie chart. In this pie chart, we can take the sex and put it as legend, and policy opened as the values. So this is how many policies each sex is getting. 0 and 1 are kind of like almost similar, 42, 48%, and then there is an 8% by gender code 2. So we can copy this, paste this, and then the second one, take out the policies and use the climb count. So now you can see that, for example, the sex code 0 has 48% of policies, but 63% of claims. So disproportionately high there. Likewise, sex 1 has disproportionately low climbs. Sex 3 kind of same there, so it doesn't really mean much. So this is one chart. Obviously, this requires 2 charts to have there, and I didn't really have that much screen space. If you look at how much space we have there, we didn't have that much. I mean, we could kind of squeeze 2 pie charts there. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I can make a donut chart and kind of nest one donut in another. So that's the next option. Obviously, this is how I did it. Unfortunately, even though the donut is there, Power BI cannot have 2 donuts in one inside another. Excel can, but Power BI I think has got a different thing. It does. I mean, it probably can, but it's not really how this works with this kind of data. So what I did is I made this first donut. So here we will put sex into legend, and policies open here. So that's what that comes up for. And I made it nice and big like that. And Control C, Control V. The second one, paste it right on top of this and change this to climb count. Okay. For the second one, turn off the title, turn off the legend, turn off the labels. So second one is just this donut, and turn off the background and border as well. So you can kind of see through the second one, the first one, and then place them one next to another, and then select the second one, go to format, send it to back. So now it is behind the first one, and then the first one also we turn off the background and visual border as well. I think the labels were inside the one, so I'm gonna switch the labels as well. So quickly take out the title and legend for this, and labels that. Yeah. And for the outside one, let's just add some labels and title as well. This requires some careful alignment after all of this thing is finished, but once you get it, then you can get up. Obviously, once this is done, then you'll need to do a better job of explaining this, like what this is really saying. Because when I finished the report, I showed it to some people. Obviously, I showed it to some friends as well as my wife as well. I showed it to her and then said, hey, this is the report that I'm presenting tomorrow. What do you think? She works as a Power BI based data analyst. So she uses Power BI a lot more than I do. The first things that she said is, out of all of this, what is this? I don't understand this. So I think this particular visual requires a little bit more readability and thinking. But the technique that I wanted to share with you is like how you can lay things out and show 2 charts in one place when the built-in visuals are not really supporting that. So hopefully that idea itself is worth exploring and maybe using it elsewhere. But feel free to add your own flavor. You don't have to take this. You can just use this and then. So I'm going to copy these. For now, we're just going to use this technique, but you can do something else. You don't have to really use the same visual as this. So carefully aligning that, and this one, the title, you can say 6. I think consistently the sex 0 is the one that has more claims. Sex 0 has more claims per policy. Irrespective of which year it is, I've noticed that that's the case. So that's what the title is. But if you want, you can also kind of make this a bit more narrative, like by writing some DAX to auto-generate that as a statement based on what your data is saying. In our case, all years is the same story. So that's that. And then here, I want to explore a few more things. So the 2 things that we explored are premium versus climb and then profitable segments. So let's go ahead and build that. And once everything is there, then you can kind of start by tweaking some alignment and layout and all of that. So for this, we are going to use a scatter plot. These are excellent for exploring data and seeing that, like, what plays out with what and how they look together, and how to understand that. So here on one axis, we want to see climbs, and on another axis, we want to see premium. So climb goes on to, average climbs goes on to y-axis, and average premium goes on to x-axis. Across the board, 8,300 average premium, 14,000 average climb for 2017 year. Now what we want is, we want to see this for all kinds of vehicles and all kinds of vehicle makes. So we will add a type of vehicle. So now each dot is one type of vehicle. You can see that, for example, pickup trucks, 8,000, 11,000. The higher this is, this axis is climb and that axis is premium. So for example, if the dot is very high up here, that means it is having higher premium, higher climb. Whereas this dot here, lower premium, higher climb. Whereas some of these dots here, higher premium, lower climb. So you probably want to operate in this zone where your premiums are more, but your average climbs are less. This is more profitable, but that's what we are exploring. This is for each type of vehicle. Now, maybe there is certain brands of vehicles like Toyotas or Mitsubishis or Mercedes or something else that is making more climbs. Maybe that's what we want to explore. So again, you can also take make and add that to the values. So now both of these are there, and you can drill all the way down. So now every dot is one combination of a vehicle make and type. So you can see pickups of China Zheng Guizhou, or trailers and semi-trailers by Dorsey, trailers and semi-trailers, lots of them, or Misfin. Like everything is there, like each dot is that. Even after all of this, maybe you may want to see where the profit is, because the profitable zone would be where my average premium is greater than average climb. That would be the profitable area. So we can add what is called symmetry shading. Symmetry shading means it kind of draws like a triangle. Anything in one half of the triangle, the one triangle would be profit, the other triangle will be not desirable. So here we can select this visual and go into symmetry shading option, enable that, and you can see at the very bottom there is a sliver of violet or purple color there. That's the profit zone. Anything there is really turning profit. Like average premium of a special construction ambulance is 42,000, but their climbs are 10,000. So not many climbs by ambulances like that. Special construction Mercedes, 29,000 average premium, but $2,500 average climb. So we could use this to see that. And you can change the year, kind of explore this. Now what I noticed is, while with all of this play, it's very interesting and fun, you can see that there are some very ridiculous values. Like for example, all of these dots have an average climb of $1 million plus. Like this is 2 million plus, that's 4 million plus, like that. That seemed ridiculously high. Like, why would the average climbs be so high? So I went and looked at the data. I looked at the climb paid column, sorted it in descending. You can see that the highest climbs we paid were like 79 million here, 43 million, 43 million again, 24 million. So there's a lot of climbs that have millions of dollars of climbs. Now this is possible, yeah. But if you look at the insured value itself, the value that we are insuring for is only 1 million here, but we are making a payment of $43 million. That doesn't really add up. Like I said, I'm not an insurance expert. I took insurance policies and I worked briefly in the insurance space. So I do know a little bit, but not like at an underwriting level or claim processing level. So I have very vague idea of how these things work. But something doesn't add up. Like, why would the insured value be so little when the climb is so high. Obviously, maybe there's some sort of a liability climb or something like that. Or there is some data quality issue, or this climb paid column is not exactly how much we paid, but it was the total climb and we paid part of it, the other party paid part of it, or something else. We have no idea exactly because the data dictionary is not there. I don't really know what is going on there. So anyhow, this was interesting, and that got me thinking, like, maybe doing this analysis at that level is not really valuable. So maybe some of this noise we should exclude. So if these dots are too high, that kind of skews up and makes everything else seem trivial. So all I did at the end of this thing is I selected this, I went to the y-axis and I set the maximum to 100K so that we could actually look at something more meaningful rather than the noise. So I've excluded some of the dots. They're there, it's just we're not seeing that. So you can do this. You can also link it to a conditional formatting or a field parameter or something else. So, or you can use even the zoom slider to explore more better. But this was nice. Then now I can see, ooh, there's this zone which is profit, that zone which is loss, and I can play with the different years and kind of see that how things are changing, which gives us a better sense of where our goods customers are. These are all the customers that are probably making us profit, whereas all of these customers are bleeding us. And there's more of them because we have artificially limited this access to 100K. But that's what symmetry shading can help us. It can give you a sense of how the data is playing, and then you can kind of see and then start to explore or understand data better and draw some more meaningful or useful conclusions from the data. Keep in mind that everything else is still interactive. So for example, if I really want to just explore trucks, I can select the trucks and then see that, or motorcycles, I can see that, or some of these other things I can see that. I think if I go specific here, yeah. So that's that, and you can again adjust some of these titles and everything for the chart. So you can say, I think, what title did I use here? Sorry for that. Premium versus climb averages. So here, let's go ahead and write that as a title. And then let's just take out these, sorry. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see that and you can point. Now, one thing that I wanted to understand more is, it's not enough somebody is, like, for example, let's just take this dot, right? This dot tells me the average premium is 15, average climb is 59. But those two numbers alone are not enough. We need to know how many policies are there. What if there is only 3 policies there? Then we might actually draw a conclusion that, oh, Scania trucks, let's not insure anymore because we are making more climbs there. But only 3, so it doesn't really add up. So you may want to catch this big fish rather than small fish. So rather than just seeing that we may want to actually learn more about this. So this is where having a tooltip would be helpful. So I've added a tooltip page. I'll show that to you in the final one here. You can see that if I point on a dot, I can see how many policies are there. 11 policies, total premium of 163K. Total climb is 1.1 and premium to climb ratio is 14.6. Like that, for every dot, I can see the detailing clearly so that I know what is going on. So we'll build that. That will basically help us understand and get better sense of this data. Okay, so this is there. And now let's go ahead and add one more, and then once that is done, then we will add the tooltip page because that's kind of the last thing that we want to do. So just as we are doing this, we may want to also do a segment analysis by some of the other columns that are there. So I think the column that I used is usage, how the vehicle is being used. And for this, a matrix is perfect. So we'll add a matrix visual. And in this matrix, I want to see the usage of vehicle. And then for each year, what is the premium to claims ratio for each usage and year combination. So we can take the usage, put that into rows, and year goes into columns, and premium to claims ratio goes here. Now you can see that it only shows for 2017. This is because, again, this slicer is controlling this guy. We want to break that connection. So we'll keep the slicer selected, go to format, edit interaction, and turn off the interaction on the table, the matrix. So this matrix can look at everything. Then get back to the way things are. This is how it is. It shows me everything. What we will do is we'll add one more extra layer here, which is I don't want to look at any usages where they're very special usages, like only 5 people are using it across the board. So only 5 policies are there. We don't want to look at that. So I'm going to select this and add a policy opened as a visual filter and is greater than 10. So at least 10 policies are there. Only then you show me in your matrix. Otherwise, don't bother. So that this kind of shows up like that. This is telling me what is happening across the board. And I'm gonna adjust this a little bit so that it looks prettier and easier on the eyes. So there's one very ridiculous number here, like 2.95 million for agricultural and owned farm. Not really sure why, but we'll live with that. So the thing that we want to do is, whenever you are working with matrices and everything, they are very dense. So instantly when our eyes see that, they feel like this is too much information. So there's that busyness creates a little bit of panic or sense of unease in the viewers. So you may want to improve the readability and make sure that they're welcoming. There are many ways to do this. I'll share some of the tricks that I personally use, but this is not like the last word or anything. You can always improvise and come up with better ways of doing this. So the basic things that I do is I go to grid options and I start with row padding. Instead of 1, let's start with something like 6. You'll see that instantly there's more white space added and every number feels more welcoming. Okay, and let's tone down the font as well. These are numbers. We don't need to make them so big. So 12 points. Now remember, this is a focus view. Actual report, this is how that's going to look like. But when I'm explaining, it's easier to do it in focus view like that. Okay, so that's that. I'm also going to adjust these columns so they're consistent like that, right? When I do that, I see that some of them have word wrap going on. I don't really like that, so I'm going to turn off text wrapping altogether. I think maybe even 10 points is fine because these are percentages. We don't really need to look at them that closely. They're there. More importantly, rather than the percentage, I want to be able to quickly eyeball and then say which numbers are below 100, which numbers are above 100, because above 100 is what we want. We want the we want to have profit. So what I'll do is I'll right click on the premium to claims ratio and then add a conditional formatting on background color, and we'll use a gradient with a midpoint, and the gradient would be starting from a custom value of 0.3. So 0.3 onwards is basically, that's like the red zone. That's like we're not making any profit there. Middle value is this yellow. Middle value is also custom. That will be 1. And higher value is green. This is also custom. So let's just go with 3. So that means premium to claims ratio 30%. I want red. 30% means for every $30 of premium, we are making $100 of claim. So not desirable. 1 is all our premiums are equal to our claims, so that will be yellow, and 3 is basically our premium is thrice of the claim. $300 premium, $100 claim, probably more desirable because the 200 we can use for other expenses, profit and salaries and whatnot. So now I can start to see, oh, this looks good. There's some green zones here, but there's like severe red zones here. And again, we may not want to get to conclusions just with the red zone alone. We will need to know more, like how many policies are there, what is the average premium, what is the average claim, etc. Because that is probably what is how we are making the 2 billion or 3 billion in premiums anyway. So we can add tooltips on top of this, but for now this looks good. I'll tweak this a little bit and maybe we can turn them off. There's few other things that you can do. You can also take out the alternative background color. So this is background color 2. If we turn that off, that will go off. And then expand the horizontal and vertical grid lines. Let's enable them and let's make them 2 pixels and change the color to white, so that you kind of get like this kind of like a boxy look with each number. And from here on out, it's more like play and then see what works with your data and your setup, what fonts or what colors and everything. But this looks kind of like fine enough for me, and now I can put it back and I can see that, oh, this is enough. There's actually more space here, so maybe we can add some more or adjust the width of this or something. That looks fine to me, and maybe even make the text slightly bigger. But that's the segment analysis, so I can see where the greens are. All of these are like our green zone, but here is where we kind of incurred heavy losses, and that's probably why we made $5-6 billion of loss in the 5 years of operation. And yeah, so that's the thing. Now, like I said, both of these, this visual and this visual, they do tell us some stories, but they don't tell the full picture. So they might give you a false sense that, oh, we should go and insure more tractors. But there's only like 20 tractors in all of the country, then you don't really have a business. So you'll need to know more about this. Like, even though this is making 23,000% profit, there may not be that many vehicles there. So we'll need to know how many of these are there. So this is where the tooltips can come in. So let's add one more page. This page, I'm going to name this as tooltip. And go to page information, change the page type to tooltip. That'll give you a smaller page. And go to canvas settings, type tooltip, change to custom, and I'm going to make the tooltip a square. By default it comes up 240 by 320. I'm going to make this 320 by 320, so you'll get a square tooltip. Let's middle align that so we can see this in the center of the screen. Go to canvas background, browse, and there is a tooltip background also I have provided in the GitHub page. Feel free to download that, and let's just fit this. So that's the tooltip page. This kind of aligns with the rest of the theme that we got going, but this is optional. You don't need background there. You can just set it up. Now, the way tooltips work is whatever you put in this page, when you link it to the page 1 where our report is, it's basically gonna show up in that context. So if I want to understand a bit more about a specific thing, like how many vehicles are there, I can just put that information here. It'll show up there. So in this page, I'm going to add a new cart. And here I want to see policies opened, average premium, average claim, premium to claim ratio. So all the 4 things. And let's just quickly adjust the layout. The layout is single row or single column. I'm going to change this to grid, 2 rows, 2 columns. So we get like this 4x4 box layout. Let's just set this to 0. And for now, we will leave it there, but we'll come back and tweak this. So now we go back here and we'll select this visual, go to properties, tooltips. The report page will be on. You just change this to the tooltip page. So now this visual and that tooltip page are linked. The way to do this is you go to the visual properties, tooltips, set it to report page and point to the page name that you just give it. All right, let's test this. If I point on this, I can see 59 policies, 19,000 average premium, $1 million average claim, 33%. So like that, I can see that for every little thing, what's going on. Of course, the text is not readable because there's too much. So let's go ahead and tweak this. Let's select this. Let's go to callout values. Let's make this as 18 pixels. 18. The labels, let's just make them as 12 pixels. And let's go back and see. Yeah, okay, so that looks all right. Maybe further adjustment is needed for the label because we can't read what the label is. 10. Yep, that looks fine to me. Okay, I renamed that as P by C ratio so we can actually read that there. And let's just see this. All right, so this is fine. There's one problem with this. If I'm pointing on a dot, for example, this little dot there, I can see that, oh, there's 2,000 policies in this bucket, 24K, 354, 87 premium to claim. So it's not really losing that much money, but maybe worth investigating, and maybe underwriting this better would be a good choice to make. But the problem is we don't really know what that dot is. We don't know what kind of make it is or what the other information about this is. So earlier we were able to see that because whenever I point on that, I could see that extra information. But now this tooltip has overtaken. So it's telling me other detail, but we don't really know what that specific dot really is. So we may want to add some more information. So for example, if you select this, this is type and make. So I can go here and add those items. So we'll need to write a new measure here. This measure would be, sorry, right click, new measure. Tooltip header is equal to where vtype is selected value of type, where vmake is selected value of make. So now we know what those values are because this will tell us what these things are, and then I can return v type ampersand we make, and we'll add one more card, move this card up to the top, align it so it kind of fits in there, and set the tooltip header there. And for this, take out the label, make this 16 points, and turn off the background and change the color to white. Right now here it will show blank simply because there is no context here, so it doesn't really know what type or make or anything we are looking at, because here everything is showing up. But when I go here and if I look at a specific one, I can see, oh, truck Franken is the name of company. We only have 2 policies, so probably not worth investigating a bit more. Whereas here Toyota buses, 5,000 policies, 8K premium, 107K average claim, 135% premium to claim ratio. This is a really good segment to have and maybe fine tune. So this is how you can kind of add that extra context to the tooltips through using that selected value option and pass the context from here to there and print that there. We can use the same technique for this. So you can build another tooltip. I was too lazy, so I'm using the same tooltip again. Tooltip on this with the tooltip, and I can just see that there. Now obviously when you are using two tooltips, two visuals, same tooltip, the second visual shows all the values, so these values are right, but the header is wrong because the header here doesn't really have the context of usage and year. It is looking at make and type, which is having probably multiple values, so it doesn't really come up. So you'll need to tweak the formula there to add more conditions so that you can switch the header automatically based on which is triggering it. It's not that hard. You'll just need to kind of write another if formula into this little thing. Okay, so that kind of brings everything together. There's a few more things that I want to show you. For example, how to bring in the logo, which is really simple. You can just say image and bring the EIC logo there and add that. And you can add one more page to explain what we are trying to do here, which is what I have done in the final one, which is I said the sad tale of EIC, show quick summary, and then make a bar graph of what is happening to their premium to claims ratio and cumulative underwriting losses here, and add a link that basically takes you to the next page where we have got all of this, and explore that. There's one other thing that I have added here, which is I wanted to also see what are the top 10 makes that we have. So I've added this little heat map or whatever this is to see, oh, we've got Toyota and Isuzu and a few other things. There's some spelling mistakes or typos as well, but probably that's something that you could do as part of data cleaning exercise as a separate thing so that you can see that. I'm leaving this to your homework and a few other little bells and whistles and conditional formats and other things. But all in all, this is a very good exercise. I had lots of fun building this report, and I was kind of like, oh, this turned out really good. I need to share this. I need to tell people about this. So that's why this live stream is happening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I had fun building it and talking about it. And yeah, I think we made pretty much all of it. There's like few other bells and whistles missing, like adding a link to another page or changing some of the titles and other things, but those are really trivial compared to what else we have achieved here. And you could see that even simple things like, for example, using this background, I'll show you what happens when you don't have the background. It looks very plain, but just by adding that little background there, it adds a little bit of depth and more professionalism to the report. Likewise, some of the choices and the colors and everything. Even though I didn't use the default color theme of Power BI. I used a modified version of what is this City Park theme. So I set it up to City Park theme, which is right somewhere here. And then I've changed some of the default fonts to Verdana and other things so that they look much better than the default ones. And yeah. Okay, so any questions? Or I know there's a lot of comments and questions coming up. I couldn't really take a look at them other than see that they were happening, simply because I was focused on explaining part. But now I'll take some questions and see what I can do. I think somebody was asking, is this going to be available later? Obviously, this is going to be on my channel, so feel free to come back and watch it again if you need to. And someone else was asking, where can I get the files? Yeah, so Min was asking that. The files are on GitHub. I'll show you the link. So this is the link. The link for this GitHub page is in the video description. Go there, download. The files that you basically want are the zip file with the data, the calendar file, and the Power BI template. These are the bare minimum. So once you have that, you can pretty much get going. But there's some images that we are using, which are all in this images folder. Paul asks, I think Puli asks, but this is not a related question, so I'm not going to take that up. Deep Tarko says, awesome, Chandu. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying all this while. And yeah, Vaibhav also says thank you. Thank you, Vaibhav. So how do you design the UI and design the backgrounds? This is an excellent question. I do a lot of different things, but the basic of all of this is I kind of use somewhat simpler tools than anything paid or commercial. But if you want, you can use Figma or Canva to do this. All I did is I used PowerPoint. This is really simple. It's low hanging fruit. I'll show you. This is the page that I used to generate all the backgrounds. You can see that this is what I used. So just go PowerPoint, make a new slide. And in this slide, just delete everything, make it blank. And in this blank slide, you would want to first start by drawing some shapes based on how the background you want. By default, PowerPoint has 16:9 aspect ratio, so which means it's the same as your Power BI thing. So let's say we want to have nice background like that, no outline, and maybe like a dark color like that, or slightly. It doesn't really matter, right? So once you have this, and then you can add more shapes. So you can say, I want to add a rounded rectangle and just put that there. Adjust the roundness so it doesn't look like comically big or anything, and start filling some colors or whatever to justify your design. So let's say this is the theme that we are going for, kind of like a 2-box layout. Both of them, I'm going to take out outline, and then I'm going to add a subtle drop shadow effect and adjust this by making the shadow a little bit more prominent. Let's just set the blur to 20 pixels and 10 pixels drop. Okay, so now this is how that looks. So once this is there, you want to select everything, including the background rectangle. Right click, save as picture. That's the clue. Save it, put it wherever you want. I'm gonna just set it into our dashboard and save it as a PNG. There's your background. You can just use it in Power BI. With icons, the same thing. You can go to insert, you can click on this little icons, and you can add icons. So the way I do it is I take lots of inspiration. So I go to LinkedIn, I watch YouTube videos, I follow other creators. So if I see a design or a concept that I like, I take some inspiration from that, and then I go back and then I see, oh, this next report I'm designing, maybe I can take inspiration from these 3 ideas that I saw last month. Let me go and take a closer look at them and then come back with a wireframe or a look that works better. So yeah. Green Valley asks, hey Chandu, good morning. Can you make your Power BI course to include Power BI service in detail? Thank you. That's an excellent question. And I am in the process of adding more service related stuff. The problem with service is it's most of what you can experience and explain depends on an organizational thing. Whereas as a trainer, I run a 1-person organization. So and a lot of things are easy to say, but like, for example, sharing or setting up refresh schedules and other things, those are somewhat trickier to explain when you have 1-person organization versus working in a bigger one. But a lot of students are asking for this. So I am in the process of adding, hopefully by, we are now in April almost, maybe June, July, it'll happen. This is something that people ask. So yeah. Murali says, awesome. I'm also using PowerPoint to design these things. That's great. Ooh, thanks a lot. That was super cool. Hari says, thank you. Chandu, have a great day. Yeah, you too have a great day as well. All right. Any other questions or doubts? Feel free to ask me. Otherwise, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. I had lots of fun talking about this, and I definitely enjoyed building that. And I'm excited to share it with you, as well as I'm going to put it the stream as well as the file and completed version in my online Power BI course. So if you're a member of that, you will be able to access this very soon. Thank you. And yeah, all the very best. Enjoy your rest of the weekend, Sunday, and I'll catch you again in another stream or a video. Before you leave, feel free to like and share this video. And if you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. That'll be awesome. And yeah, all the best. Thank you. Santosh says that's great seeing instead of saying use PowerPoint, showing it. Yeah, always, man. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.